Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon. I'm a lifetime Seminole fan.
I'm Chris, and I'm a happy Gator fan.
We are putting aside our differences as rivals to bring you the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. And today the conversation is going to be almost entirely about Florida's win at home versus Florida State, 24-21. The Gators surprised us all, Chris, and pulled off the victory at home in the swamp against the Noles. Gosh, if I'd ever thought we'd said that 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But
real.
Yeah, we'll just start with some overall impressions of the game. Going in, you had the Gators struggling. I had the Noles on the uptick, just like everybody else did. But what did you see differently that really changed the outcome of this game from start to finish?
Yeah, like you said, I was shocked. I was so down on Florida. And like Florida State was trending in the right direction. Everything was going wrong for us. I think, honestly, the thing that was different is Mullen being fired. Really, it's weird. Firing a coach sparks your team, but it really did. It sparked the fan base, not only because it's just official. We all just knew he was, for lack of a better term, dead man walking.
Yeah. We
knew it wasn't going to last. So when it was finally, the Band-Aid was ripped off and he wasn't our coach, and now we have this hope all of a sudden of better times and a better coach. And names were circling around, and Napier was being one of the guys, the main guy, earlier in the week. So I think that just kind of helped the fan base. I think it helped the players, getting new blood in there. You're playing for your interim coach, Coach Knox, at the time. You're playing for the seniors, and I think that's what really was the difference as far as the morale and the energy and the spark that the Gators needed. And it's sad it's at his expense, but that's what it was. Because something that shocked me, I think maybe the day before it was announced that the swamp was sold out and it was almost full, and I was just like, how? Like, we're an awful team. We're not playing a good team. It's a noon game, right? But there were still a lot at stake. A bowl game was. Someone said that this should be called the Eligible.
Nice.
Yeah. Because the winner would eventually go to the bowl and the loser not. So I think that's what really changed it was. Now we have some kind of life. We have some kind of hope, because really it was just a hopeless season. So going into the game, that's what really got us fired up. And a defense that they played really good this game. The Florida defense, I mean, minus the last couple minutes of the game where I think the offense got conservative and we were playing prevent a little bit, and
sure,
Florida State scored those last couple touchdowns to make it a little bit dicey. But I think the defense really stepped up. You saw it in the Missouri game. They played awful against Samford and the games before that. But having Grantham out, Robinson finally gets his feet set, and you saw a spark in the Missouri game, except the very end there, and it's carried over into this game right here.
Yep.
And yeah, so I think the defense was, for Florida, really what stood out, because honestly, for majority of the game, we held Florida State to 7 points, and we were in the backfield a lot. We were forcing turnovers, and despite our foibles with the quarterback in the first half, our defense kept us in the game, and until we figured out what we were doing on offense.
Gotcha. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, really two main things for Florida State. The passion continues to be there. These guys continue to fight. I mean, we can joke about you can be excited and not play well, which is exactly what the Noles did for most of this game.
Yeah.
But, for the second time against a rival this season, showing some passion. And, hey, get a little chippy. I mean, it stayed chippy the entire game.
One of the worst, yeah.
I have to believe this was the Noles. I mean, after I see what happened against the Miami team this year, I have to think the Noles started. I'm not, and we've kind of been like this for a couple of times over the last maybe 4 or 5 seasons. Really going back to Taggart, because we had some issues against Clemson where they were blowing us out. We started getting really unsportsmanlike, but it also was glaringly obvious that one, maybe two injuries on offense, and this team is completely different and just absolutely has zero chance. We are still lacking depth, and yeah, we played well, and we had some streaks. Our defense would play well for a while. Our offense would play well for a while. We just never could piece a lot of those efforts together, and it's obvious to me that you were talking about in the reaction episode about cracks being the foundation with Mullen. We're still patching up the cracks from like previous coaches, the end of Jimbo, maybe some Taggart stuff. Norvell isn't getting things 100% there, but I have some faith he'll get mostly there probably over the next year or so. That's what stood out to me, and it kind of clustered into a perfect storm in this game, where you're like, hey, for 2 or 3 drives this game, Florida State looked like it could dominate, and then most of the rest of the game, it looked like it didn't know what it was doing.
Yeah, it was weird. The game felt, by halftime, I had a sense that Florida was really, going into the half, they were just a better team. But yet it was tied. And I mean, credit for Florida State forcing 3 turnovers in the first half for Jones. I think that's what really kept y'all in it.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous because I thought, had we at least got a field goal going in the half, we were going to just pull away. Just the way that things were going, the way that our defense was doing pretty well. But when you guys got the pick in the end zone and almost got that field goal, I was like, oh, and you were getting the ball third quarter, I thought, oh, there's the momentum shift that we did not want. And so I was kind of worried. I think Richardson coming in the second half gave us a spark. He really didn't. He made a good pass in the end zone for a touchdown. He didn't do much, but I think it just gave us just some confidence on offense. Just like, okay, we're not going to just throw 3 picks. He might not, run 50, 60-yard run, but I don't think he's going to turn the ball over 3 times like we saw with Jones. So just him being in the game just kind of settled everyone down, I think, and it gave us that momentum we needed. But, I mean, I was kind of nervous. I was really nervous after that pick from, I think, was it Brownlee going into the half?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was tough, and like I said, in the preview, I said if Florida State messes up and has penalties and turnovers, we have a good chance to win, and that's what happened. I mean, you saw that the undisciplined play from Florida State most of the year was showing up again, and we had our fair share of penalties, and it was just kind of no one really wanted to win in the first half. No one really was like, no, you take the win. No, you take the win. And I think the play that was the ultimate shift was the muff punt. Mm-hmm. Because we were starting to get some momentum. We got a field goal, and then you had pinned us down at the 1 or something like that.
Yeah.
Fantastic punt. And then Crawshaw, our punter, actually has a great punt to put Wilson in that bad position. And then once we got that, we were just kind of we punched it in and we kind of took over from there. But it was from both teams. It was just kind of nobody really wanted to win the first half and going into the third quarter till that play. I think that's what the play that ultimately turned the tide for us.
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of started for us early, giving up the long play. Was it Gamble? And you're like, okay, well, he's going to catch it, but they're going to tackle him. No, he's just going to run over him, and he's just going to go to the end zone. That's just 2 mistakes that you can't mistake. 2 mistakes you cannot make on the same play.
Right.
And it's just a bad look from the start. And then the second Jordan Travis goes out, I dare you to go back and rewatch the look on Norvell's face. He immediately knew we were in trouble. The instant he went out. And sure enough, the first snap, it goes over Mackenzie Milton's head, loses 15 yards.
Yeah.
I think we ended up with like a 4th and 25, so obviously you have to punt. The next series, Mackenzie Milton throws an interception.
A really bad pass.
Rodemaker comes in. Most people are like, Rodemaker? Who's this guy? How do you pronounce his name? Because, I mean, if you don't follow the Noles or Gators, then you wouldn't have known who this guy was at all. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, he didn't stay in long either because we get an offensive pass interference. So that's basically a quarter we just blew away because those 3 possessions just did nothing.
Yeah, and your defense was playing great. Definitely helping you all out and setting you up for success. But I want to say this about Jordan Travis. I had a lot of respect for him. I have so much more respect for him now after this game. I've watched a ton of Florida State football the last couple of years because of the podcast, and I was always impressed by him. But that is one tough dude.
Yeah.
That is. I mean, you give him a decent offensive line. I mean, y'all can be dangerous. It's just the offensive line, whether it's penalties or depth, they can't block enough people, and he can't stay upright enough. But when he is in the game and healthy, you've seen other games before, and you've even seen this game. When he was upright and healthy, he's a dangerous man.
Sure.
And he's a. I mean, if I was him and I took that shot, I'm not playing football ever again. But he's like, give me a quarter and I'll come out and I mean, he ran a touchdown. I mean, single-handedly.
Right.
And the touchdown in the run before, that was all Jordan Travis.
And I mean, to that point further is he was the running game against the Gators, and that was the more, I don't want to say depressing part of it, but to see Tophili, Corbin, Ward really get shut down completely. That's what kind of surprised me here, because that was the biggest thing I saw as an opposite result here. The Gators have actually had a really good running game the entire season. Now, it's gotten slightly a little bit less over the last month.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, Florida State's rush defense, got to get there, but probably will, because this will be one of the harder defensive lines they'll face all season. And then Florida State's rushing attack should be there and should pop big plays, and the Gators silenced all of that. We didn't have any big plays on the run game. We did have one ridiculous one-handed catch by Wilson. Yeah. By the way, our wide receivers are good for one good play a month. So we got 2 in November, the 4th and 14 catch, and that one catch by Wilson. That's about it. And as you saw from the rest of the game, Parchment caught a couple, but maybe Wilson, I think, got involved a little bit here and there. I mean, just pretty much non-factors, just like they've been all season.
Yeah, that catch was one of the best I've seen, because 2 guys, I mean, and I was just talking to the people I was watching it with when I saw it. I was like, I mean, you can't cover that.
No.
And one of them was a linebacker. Well, one of them was Kyer Elam, who's a projected first-round corner. I mean, that was just phenomenal. But it's not enough of that. Not enough of those plays. I mean, we weren't making enough either, I guess, in the first half. We made enough in the third quarter. The third quarter was what really did it. 10 points to 0 in that muff punt. But it was an even match. It was I was thinking of names for this game. The eligible was the best one I got, but the best one I thought of was the world's largest outdoor pillow fight, because that's what it looked like. It was an ugly game.
It was. Golly. And it was a lot of small disciplinary things on Florida State's end. It was really just like you had mentioned, the clock management at the end of the first half, where you snap the ball with 6 seconds, I think, on your own 40. Okay, you have to tell yourself, I only have 5 seconds and I have to get the clock stopped with 1 second. But with 0 seconds, he's still running and he finally falls down. Like, oh, well, there we go. There's no field goal attempt here. Yeah, Not that I had much faith he would have made it. But, I mean, what courage of them to take the ball after the interception and drive right down essentially into a range where you put yourself in a position to score. That was impressive. I mean, and of all the days for our punter to have one of the worst games ever, he had a shank that went like 15 yards. Then on the other side, he downs at the 1, and then another one down inside the 5. And then we have a muffed punt. And then, remember that episode we did of plays that will haunt us? Well, the ending of this game is going to be added to Brandon's list. How does your kicker miss the ball?
Well, I think he was trying to miss the ball, but he actually hit it.
Or like whiffed, or like...
I think what he was trying
to do... It was going to be like he runs the pass and kicks it, another guy comes behind him. I don't know.
I think what he was trying to do was fake it, and the guy was going to really come behind him and kick it.
And then it fell over.
Supposed to hit it.
And then he was like,
touch it.
Oh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And it's not like any Gators going to be dumb enough to go up there and recover it, because they don't have to touch it and go 10 yards.
Yeah.
So in theory, the ball could have sat there forever, and the game would have never ended.
I think, and I could be wrong, but it looked like he was going to fake the kick, and the other guy was going to really kick it.
Yeah, that's what I'm understanding later was the call. Yeah.
And he did touch it.
Good Lord.
Yeah. The whiff it griff is what you told me.
Can't even get that right. I mean...
Yeah, but I mean, I will say that like that wasn't a play to win the game or lose the game.
No,
there's still the chances of you recovering and getting
and scoring very small.
small. So not everything rested on that, but that's just not a good way to end the season.
Yeah, no.
In the game, and it's still not a fun way to end a game and ultimately a season. So, but yeah, I mean that's fitting. That's the way this season for us. That game, I mean, that game was such an ugly game. Like I don't know how many times I'm gonna go back and watch that game. Even though we won, I mean, there's a lot of bad plays on both sides.
That's a good point. It really didn't have any flow. I like what you said there. You're like, I don't know, I could go back and rewatch that because, like in my YouTube feed, the 4th and 14 against Miami has come up quite a few. I was like, oh, okay, I'll rewatch it. That was cool.
Yeah.
But in this one, I'm like, had we won by 3, if it had gone the other way, I'd have been like, that wasn't a good win. Why would I want to relive that?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's an odd feeling because I mean, I absolutely love the fact that we beat Florida State and that we are bowling, but after such a horrible reason, you're kind of embarrassed. Like it's an embarrassing victory. Does that make any sense? Because I mean, honestly, Florida fans are so focused on next year already. Have been for weeks. Like this bowl game is cool, but I don't know how many Florida fans are really jacked about it because we are trying so hard to forget this season. Sure. So I mean, absolutely, I would definitely take it than us not winning for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I think it was still pretty clear for the people out there that were like, this one can go either way. The Gators are still more talented, and I think that they showed it because they were constantly ahead of the chains, always third and short, which is why you had such good third down success rate.
Yeah,
not playing your best game, still winning pretty easily, and I think we scored early in the fourth quarter to pull within 10, and then that last touchdown with less than a minute. So technically that would be like, you probably throw that last touchdown away if you're looking at like meaningful stats kind of deal.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, you didn't seem to struggle. There were a couple points early on. It looked a little iffy.
Yeah.
But the Knowles certainly didn't take advantage of any of those turnovers. I think out of those 3 turns, we scored 7. That's it. And you just kept turning the ball over. Jordan Travis couldn't hold on to the ball. He fumbled it twice, I think. And it just, you when you had gained momentum, just like we've done most of the season, we just gave it back somehow.
Yeah. One thing that I was surprised that we, for the most part, kept Jermaine Johnson in check. I think he had a sack in the game, a couple of QB hurries, but really, I mean, he wasn't as a force as he has been. But on the flip side, Brenton Cox, 4 sacks.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, lived in the backfield most of the game. Bunch of hurries. And you saw this the last couple of weeks. He actually was starting to come on. In Missouri game, had a fantastic game in there too. And now this is the 5-star transfer from Georgia that we wanted to see for 2 years now. And he finally shows up. Maybe, was it Grantham? Was that the reason?
No.
That he wasn't unleashed? This is the guy, like, we've seen flashes every now and then. He just seems a little bit off and slow. And then the last couple of weeks, especially this game, you're like, finally, we've been waiting so long for you to have a game like this.
I mean, this is the offensive line to do it against. Let me tell you.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
That'll be some of it. But you know what? I also think I've seen a little bit of a pattern here with Jermaine Johnson and company. Kier Thomas kept in check too, who's had a really good last 4 to 6 games. The stronger offensive lines that Florida State's played this year, our defensive line did not get the push and pressure that they've been getting. Like, I was thinking back, I was like, NC State, they pretty much had their way with them. Very little pressure, -1 or 2 plays here and there. I mean, our best game defensive line was against Miami. We just were constantly in the backfield and just owning them. Mm-hmm. But you match up against the Gators. Then you face maybe Clemson or even a decent Wake Forest team or Notre Dame. You just don't see those results there if you look back. So yeah. I'm like, that's something for the scouts to look for with Jermaine Johnson is, yes, he has some potential, but against better talent, he does struggle. I'm not taking anything away from the Gators. My point is that he when the competition is better, he's not quite as advertised and needs to kind of work on that for a skill set.
Yeah. I just thought that was an interesting comparison there, or contrast, whatever you want to call it. But overall, we pretty even statistically. I think,
crazy even, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, The score, it's such an odd game because the score says we win by 3, but really watch that game 10, 17
Yeah,
points,
you had control
honestly.
the entire time.
But at points, we looked very even. And then the first half, it was tied 7-7. We both were like, "No, you take the ball. No, you take the ball. No, please. We'll get it off the pass, off the pass interference. No, we'll get a holding call." And it was just nobody wanted to win, and it looked like, oh, okay, this is a bunch of 5 and 6 teams. Okay.
Yep.
And we just had a better quarter, really. That was the third quarter was the only thing that was different. It was such a weird, like, we're better, and the score looks like it, but we don't feel like we're better. It's just such a weird game all around.
Yeah, it seemed really choppy.
Yeah.
And very chippy. Like choppy, like, okay, you splice it up here and then it's going to stop. And then chippy as in guys just could not get at each other's face. I mean,
yeah. So what are your thoughts on the Dameon Pierce play where his helmet came off? And he went to the end zone and got tackled. And I'm like, this play doesn't happen too often. That's probably why it's not talked about. And I know there is some bias a little bit coming into this, but I feel like he shouldn't have got penalized for that.
I completely agree.
But maybe just whistle the ball dead where his helmet came off. I thought that was the rule. I didn't realize they had assigned a penalty to it.
I mean, I learn something new every day watching college football because I feel like they're just making stuff up. And that one just blew my mind. I was like, really? You're talking about a guy who is literally chugging toward the end zone and he's 4 yards out?
Yeah.
He's finishing the play and, his adrenaline is pumping and his heart is beating and he's rushing the football and he's winning and he's dominating these guys and he finally gets there and he's just a couple of yards short and they're going to penalize him for continuing his momentum.
Yeah. Did they give him 15 yards for that, right?
Yes, it would, but we had some kind of weird play there too. I'd have to go back and look at it, but some kind of like the play was whistled dead and then there was a 10-yard penalty on Florida State, but a 15-yard personal foul on him, something weird. So it ended up being like 1st and goal till 10 or 11, something odd.
And that's the thing that really bugs me about that is, especially on that play specifically, he gets 15 yards. So you're saying it's the same thing as holding a guy in pass interference or shoving a guy late. You're saying it's the equivalent of that? I mean, at most 5 yards. At most, I don't think you should give any yards. Just the play is dead where the helmet comes off.
Just whistle dead before, move on with your life. That should not have been that penalty. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think Florida fans would be even more livid had we not scored.
Sure.
Right, and I think rightfully so. That's why it's not as a big topic, but it's still something that kind of just irks you. It's like, I don't like that play. Had it been reversed, I'd say the same thing. I'd say the exact same thing. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
To the players. So. Interesting, but again, I mean, I told you this several times. Every game, I see a play I've never seen before. That's one of them. I've watched a lot of college football.
Yeah.
But every game, I'm like, there's always at least one play. I'm like, nope, that's new. That's a snowflake.
Oh, nice, yeah. The only other thing that I question, and this one was really close, so I don't really bother me either way, was the interception that Jordan Chavez threw.
Yeah.
I really felt like that hit the ground and was incomplete, but there was just simply no way to know, and I really thought the video they would overturn it. To be honest, that was the only, and not that would have had some effect on the game because it was kind of later and we were trying to come back, but that was another one I was like, I guess technically it could go either way, so I'm not gonna be upset about it. But
it did. I mean, upon watching it the first time, it didn't look clean.
Right.
Just whether he hit it, I think the Florida State guy came up with it. Also, it didn't feel like. I mean, I think what helped is that they ruled an interception.
Yeah,
and it's hard to overturn that. I think that's what really helped it because you're right. It was just kind of like it wasn't the cleanest of interceptions, and I understand. I understand questioning it a little bit.
Yeah. I don't think it makes a big difference in the outcome. Just like you said, the stupid personal foul with Pierce didn't. You do end up scoring, but you still have to work twice as hard for it. And when he really should have gotten 1st and goal right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I think that's all I got from my notes. I mean, I can always talk more, but
yeah,
games to
I mean, I think
touch on. I'm pretty sure you don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I said going in. I never want to lose to Florida, but I also knew that we had kind of met our win total for the season. And hey, guess what? That Jacksonville State win would have played pretty important toward bowl eligibility. It turns out. I mean, the season would have played out totally differently. So it's not as simple as saying, "Hey, that would have been win number 6 and you're in." That's not always how that works. But had you win your second game and you don't start 0-4, that probably gives you a little more step in your game going forward.
Yeah, I think that you win that next game for sure. Their confidence is better because, I mean, that was the lowest, right? Or shortly after was the lowest.
Had to be, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, because it's tough. Once you start losing, it's tough to get back into the win column.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it ended up being an even bigger game and play than you thought.
100%. Yeah. So, yeah, it was definitely not dull. Sometimes in that game you feel like a little hope for Florida State, but really from the start I felt like the Gators controlled it, and I was really just kind of hoping for some kind of major mistake, but after AR-15 comes in, that pretty much went away.
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, just brief glimpse of the future. I think he has to be the guy because I think his upside is so big. And Jones, I think he's a fantastic guy. He's just so inconsistent. So inconsistent.
I didn't know the fans were so much against Emory Jones until when he left the game they started cheering. I was that's a bad sign.
Yeah, and I feel so bad because he's been so classy during this whole thing. Has not said one negative thing. I mean, I even saw a picture someone posted online with after the game, after he throws 3 interceptions and gets benched, he's out there signing autographs to fans.
Wow.
In his uniform still, hasn't even got to the locker room, signing autographs to fans. So he and AR have, almost every game have put out some kind of like, hey, we're cool. Like that's my brother, that's my dog. So the fans love him as a person. I don't think he's a toxic player. Just he is so inconsistent, and I mean, I know it's Samford, but he broke a record, 550 yards and 7 touchdowns accounted for, which is hard to do against anybody.
Yeah,
and then you have a game like this where you throw 3 picks. So, and it's sort of like we know what your ceiling is. We think AR's ceiling is bigger, or taller, whatever you want to say. So, yeah, tough one for him. I mean, I don't know if he transfers or what, but it's a tough one for him, tough one to go out on.
Yeah.
But once AR came in, I think just everyone settled down and we're like, okay, let's just play our ball and we'll be okay.
Yep. That's what did it.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. So you want to move on?
Yeah, please. Let's do.
Okay. We'll just talk about the other exciting game in the state. What a you don't want to say barn burner. You don't want to say great game.
No.
An interesting game. We'll say interesting.
Let's Tarantino this one and start at the very end and work our way back.
Yeah,
South Florida versus UCF. You're talking about learning something new. I just the flow of that last play of the game. So the scenario for those who didn't watch is the Bulls are down by 4. They've driven down inside the 10-yard line, right? So they snap the ball with 12 seconds left. Quarterback rolls to his left because he's left-handed. And he gets touched in the backfield, and it looks like his knee touches the ground. He's down with a sack. But he throws the ball, and a defender intercepts it. That happened with approximately, 8 seconds left that the knee was touching down.
Yeah.
The ball is caught, and he returns it with roughly 4 seconds left, goes down, and then mass chaos ensues. So you're like, did the game end? Did the ball whistle dead? Was he down by contact? Was it an interception? What happens next? Then they go through this very long review to find out his knee touched the ground, which then makes you think, oh no, they're going to have time to go out and snap him with the ball and run another play.
Right.
Trying to get the end zone and win. Versus interception, game's over. But then the referees say that basically the natural flow of the game, the play continued on, the clock ran out. which then made sense because Jeff Scott was over there just yelling at the referees because he was told before the review was even over, hey, you're not going to get another playoff. And in reality, it would have punished UCF to let the Bulls go out and run a play because they had stopped them. And they've been training themselves for years. Don't blow the play dead. Let it continue. If it had been an interception, you've taken it away from them.
Yeah, wild. And I remember the game was on in the background, and I was with family at the time, and I saw the play, but I couldn't really hear the play. And I was thinking the same thing. Oh, it's down, so they're going to let them run up and spike it or something like that. 8 seconds, you can do that. Get a play off, and I was like, oh, I mean, the way things are going, South Florida's going to win this game. And then I just game's over. I was like, what? So I texted you. I was like, explain to me what just happened. I didn't hear it. Explain it to me. Such a crazy game.
Well, going back just 2 weeks ago when Florida State played Miami, I was thinking, oh, there's going to be 4 seconds left, which I now know gives you enough time to run up the ball and spike it because you need 3 seconds to do that.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, oh, my goodness. But and in the end, I think that was the right decision, and the Knights hang on for dear life against the 2-win South Florida Bulls. And who did I pick to win this game, Chris?
I think you had the Bulls.
Yes.
You almost had it.
I did, and I was about 4 yards short of being correct.
Yeah.
Because the Bulls they have something in the water, some kind of coaching, some kind of speech, something before this game, and they just play out of their minds.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I didn't expect them to be in a position to win. I really did not.
Yeah.
They came out fighting pretty hard there, and then I wouldn't say UCF pulled away, but when they got that score in this right before half, I was like, okay, game over, UCF. Just kind of okay, there was USF's chance right there, but going into the half, they get that touchdown. And then USF's defense played phenomenal. Yep. They got 2 field goals in the third quarter. And one score game, going into the fourth. And I was like, is USF really going to pull this off? And, man, they almost did. Exciting, fun time. I mean, that's rivalry games, though, right? You see that all the time. Teams that shouldn't even mess around winning sometimes do, and sometimes they almost win.
There was, I don't know, I watched a replay of the first field goal that UCF missed, and I actually think it was good. I think the refs might have missed that one. So go back and look at that. Surprised it didn't get reviewed. It was so close. It was one of those kicks that went over the top of the goalpost, so you have to rely on the referee's vision. And, well, that 3 points would have come in handy later. Definitely would have changed the game. But either way, the Knights and Gus Malzahn finished 8-4, Chris, the best record in the state.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned him, because another thing that I had never seen before, did you see where he was coaching from?
The Perch.
The Perch.
He's doing that for a couple weeks now because he broke his leg or something celebrating. They didn't really disclose
I never noticed it. I never caught
his
on
injury. It was undisclosed injury. It was maybe dancing in the hotel room. I don't know. Or something like that. But, he broke his leg at some point, and so they're up there on his little table with his chewing gum and his little scorecards.
He looked like a lifeguard, man. It looked like he was about to do the Heimlich on somebody.
Nice.
But I guess it just went under the radar for me that he was doing that. So when I saw him do that, I was like, am I seeing this?
So good.
Everyone can see this, right?
It's a very Gus thing to have. And then he had to limp. Yeah. He basically had to limp out of the field on his crutches at the end of the game to celebrate the victory with the little I-4 trophy. And no one could touch him. No one could hug him. No one could lift him off the field. So, good on the Knights to finish off. They definitely a season that they wanted. They probably want 3 of those 4 losses back. Yeah, with a chance to win. But the bigger news after the UCF Knights win at home is that Dylan Gabriel, right after this game is announced as official, or the next morning, says he is transferring. He's going to the portal, and I did not see this coming.
No, not at all. I'm curious how his injury, I think you said he might be close to playing, or how that's coming along, and then just kind of Why?
Internal reports said that he was probably cleared to play for the South Florida game.
Okay.
Which meant if it's true, then he chose not to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very curious as to his reasoning behind that, and where, like, I don't know if you've heard any rumors or potential places that he could be going.
Haven't
they're going to be getting a good quarterback wherever he goes.
Indeed. Sneakily, somebody may have been in our text chain was asking. I was like, you know what, going with Kendall Browse to Arkansas would be a pretty good fit for him. Mm-hmm. But I had some UCF fans close to me. They're like, if he goes to Tennessee and joins Josh Heupel, I'm just going to be ticked.
Okay.
Yeah. Betrayer number 3, because you grabbed the AD too.
Oh my goodness! So are you going to start hating Tennessee too?
I'm so ambivalent to them.
Plenty of room on this train, man.
Oh, you want me to hate Tennessee? Well, I mean, they beat us in '98, so I'm not fond of them. But they're, I don't know. I don't like them enough to hate them.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you change your mind, if you want to come
there's
on,
room on that. Okay.
Listen. Keep that in mind. Listen, the emperor needs an apprentice. So if you're looking to join, we got room.
Sis come in pairs. Yes, they do.
Rule of 2. I could definitely use a Darth Hater.
Hater?
Yes. If you want to be Darth Hater and we can just rail on Tennessee, just let me know. All right, I'm not going to be a pushy emperor. Okay, I'm not going to just force it on you, but my door's always open. Let's just say that.
Speaking of Darth Hater, I mean, the way Mullen leaves after that Missouri loss and he gets trolled so hard by Drinkowitz was classic.
Yeah.
I love the SEC.
I was just kind of like, it stings, but I was like, that's really funny.
Yeah.
And at that point too, everyone's like forget Mullen anyways. So we're like, yeah. You know.
Crazy.
But that's best luck for him. Whoever gets him is going to have a good quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see.
Miami Duke.
Small games and wrap up. Yeah, we'll talk about Miami versus Duke.
Miami blows out Duke. Okay, that's about it.
That's done.
Yep.
Miami's in a bowl. Coaching hot seat is very, very hot, but Diaz, as far as we know, is still there.
I'm surprised that, I mean, we mentioned this before, I think on our last reaction video, but surprised Diaz is still there. Although 7-5 is not bad, but that's not what they wanted. That's not the expectations they had.
Right.
But Van Dyke going into next season looks like a pretty solid quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, definitely something to build on. Your defense has moments, so not all is lost, I don't think. Yeah. But the Hurricanes just have higher expectations than this, and so 7-5 every year it ain't going to cut it for much longer.
Right. Okay, and then Middle Tennessee comes back to beat Florida Atlantic 27-17.
Yeah, what a weird up and down season for the Owls. They look good and at times on offense. They look times good at defense. Sometimes they put it together, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Didn't compete in the conference like I really thought they would, so a little bit of a disappointment there. I was kind of off on a lot of schools this year on that, to be honest.
They missed out on a bowl. I guess I didn't realize this. Same thing for this game. 2 5-6 teams.
Yeah, 5-6. Yeah.
And so they played their own eligible. Florida Atlantic was leading 17-3, middle of the third, and just got outscored by 20 points or something like that. So
Blue Raiders storm back.
Yeah, I mean, just let the season slip. Oh, that's a rough one. That's at home too. That's a rough one.
Yeah, not a whole lot to build on there, and it's kind of the opposite of Miami. And you got to hope. Okay, it's year 2. A lot of coaches see improvement from year 1 to 2, so maybe Taggart does get that turned around. A lot of smaller schools just don't benefit from transfer guys like you would think they would. SMU is kind of the one exception, and they got a new coach now, so you have some room to improve there. And this is probably a team that should have won 8 games and only won 5. So,
right. Yep. And then FIU losing their 11th straight.
Yep.
11th straight to Southern Miss. To close out the season, 1-11. 0-8 on the conference. Yeah.
Yeah, not much to say there. They they did even worse than we thought they would. Probably thought maybe a 3-win team this season. Butch Davis is out. You can expect a complete rehaul next year. I don't even imagine a lot of coaches stay.
Right.
So.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, that is it for the regular season, and I will say we have results for our picks.
Oh, that's right. Season. Oh man, I think this was close. I'm curious. I didn't tell you.
It was. So I want to say, what week was it that we gave you an update after week 9? You were leading by 3 games, and so since then, I have been catching up to you. Closing the gap, get behind the week. Last week, I closed the gap pretty solid last week. So here are the final results. You have a record of 58-20. I have a record of 57-21.
Oh man!
Could not catch you
by 1 game.
So, by 1 game. I think last year I won by 1 game.
How about that?
So this year you won by 1. I mean, this last week, you had 3 wrong. I had 1 wrong, and so this last week I almost got you, tied you, but could not do it. Could not pull it off. So congratulations to you.
Oh, thanks. It was a worthy victory against a worthy opponent. I put too much stock in the South Florida Bulls. I think that was my weakness going down the stretch because I knew they were going to win somewhere down the road. I think I had them winning like 5 games. They only ended up winning 2. Yeah. And I mean, Florida State, to both of our credit and discredit, just a hard team to see and a hard team to know what you're going to get week to week. It's just impossible. And if it wasn't flu, it was injury. So
right. It
came down to it. But thank you, Chris, as always. I look forward to challenging you next season and trying to defend the title.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yep.
A lot of fun. So yeah, that's it. That's it for the regular season.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just maybe we can do an end of the season recap, whatever. But it's just I said it several times. It's so strange to see where we were in September.
Yep.
And where we are now, both teams, just insane. I mean, the whole state has just been down, but especially our team specifically.
Yeah, you hate to see Florida State. 4 years in a row with a losing record. I know that nothing delights you more, and that's fine. But it's really, you'd have to really look at the squad and the program and the school to know that we actually did make progress a year. To the common fan that says, oh, you'll have to lose a record again. You started 0-4, one of those Division II school. That's what they're going to take away from this season. Mm-hmm. And they're not wrong. There's just other things to look at also, like, hey, we're winning recruiting. We beat UNC and we beat Miami. We played competitively. We built on things. We figured out who we were with an identity. And, I mean, this is about what you expected of this school to do, and they didn't fall apart. They battled back, and they continued to press on. I understand that what do we come into the season with the Florida Gators? Probably about 9, maybe 10 wins. Something like that. So, understandably, probably a disappointing year for the Gators, and that obviously you're losing a head coach. That's going to be the way it goes sometimes. But if someone once told me, hey, the downfall started when Marco Wilson threw a shoe.
Yep, that is it. I mean,
and sometimes it could be something small like that.
Yeah,
it really can.
Because there's always one play that you can point to and go, oh, that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, the play that really sticks out to me going back to 2013, the end of the 2012 season. It was really 2013, the bowl game for the Gators against Louisville when we threw, I think, the first play of the game, a pick 6. You're like, oh, that's awful. And we never recovered that game. We never recovered it next season.
Interesting.
And so, I mean, I guess for Florida State, would you say the Winston fumble in the Rose Bowl? A lot of people point to that. It's just that one play, like,
Well, I mean,
I guess the next year you had success. Never mind, you went to the Orange Bowl next year, right?
Yeah. So you're actually not very off on the years there, because after Winston leaves in 2015, we pieced together a Peach Bowl appearance, but lose to Houston.
Okay.
Really, I look at it as 2 different things that happen. In 2016, we get blown out at Louisville, 63-20.
Lamar Jackson. Right?
Yeah, the game where he showed up and won the Heisman in one day. But the other thing I really looked at was the 2017 game against Alabama. We started the season in with like 2 possessions left. DeAndre Francois tears his knee and he's done for the year.
I think you're right. Yeah.
There was like a perfect storm of DeAndre Johnson was a QB we had out of South Florida. This guy was like a top 5 recruit in the nation. He was going to be the next guy. Had off the field issues, and he actually never even got to Florida State. He was dismissed before the season even started. Never even played it down. What that guy could have been. He transferred around like Florida Atlantic, et cetera, and never did anything. Then you had other issues with other quarterbacks, and so when Francois goes down, you have to go right to James Blackman, and we now know how that went. Yeah. That moment probably it also in Jimbo's mind said, "Oops, I need to rethink this."
Yeah.
He's like, I've had the same staff for a while. This year is going to be really tough. And about 3 weeks after that, that's when I was like, ooh, you're playing NC State at home. You're down by 10. You score a touchdown with 4 minutes to go. And then you just kind of give up. You don't use any timeouts. You don't try an onside kick when you have a chance. I was like, he's not even trying to play to win anymore.
Yeah.
So you could point to any 3 of those moments where you're like, and the fans in us have to catch those kinds of things really quickly now.
Right.
The first sign of danger, it has to be fixed immediately, or it's just going to get worse and it's going to tank. And I think Dan Mullen is the pinnacle example of this, because you talk about a team that was 8-1, heading for a possible SEC title or playoff appearance, and then 12 games later he's fired.
Yeah. Yep. And I think he did what I tend to do too, is deny it. But he denied, like, I can deny it as a fan because it's not my responsibility. But as a coach, if you deny that it's a problem when it's a glaring problem, something's wrong. And that was I think that's when a lot of people started to turn, or their feelings towards him turned. We had a great SEC championship game, even though we lost. You kind of forgot about that. But then we get blown out against Oklahoma, and you're like, oh yeah, we did lose to LSU at home, and he denied that it was everything was wrong. And then this season, you're like, oh yeah, he is still denying that things are wrong, And so that's what really, you as a coach, you got to be a better job and just be honest. Like, yeah, this is a problem. That was not good. We got to fix that. I'm gonna fix that. And I think he started to say that stuff a little bit too late for us and for his job. But yeah, you can look back but like with Bowden, with Saban, with the legendary coaches, you don't have those, because you're not going to look back and go, this was the point where it all fell apart, because it never fell apart, because they addressed it right away. Yeah. And they fixed it. So, that's unfortunate. Unfortunate. That LSU game, man, it's always going to be like, yep, that was the downfall.
That was the point.
That was it.
Crazy. Well, the good news is, going to a bowl, which Florida, Miami, and UCF will be doing, is they get another month of practices, another month of being on campus with the staff. They get to be around it. The coaches get to continue on with the players there and do some recruiting in the meantime. Plus a little fun trip out of it. You're going to have your, here we go again, these guys are going to sit out or whatever, and that's fine. But, it's going to be a chance for some of those other guys to really get a chance, do a little holiday traveling, get to spend a little bit of money, have some fun too, see a new city.
Yeah, I'm not really, as far as potential matchups. I'm hearing anything from, as far as Clemson to Miami to UCF, Gasparilla to Gator Bowl, and I'm like, oh, it's cool, interesting, but I'm not as hyped for it because of many reasons. I'm really looking for next year, and with the transfers, with the people sitting out, I'm just kind of like, okay, you can match us up against anybody, but who knows who from our team's going to show up, who from the other team's going to show up? Is it really a reflection of of the season? No. It's still fun, though. It's still a bowl. But I'm not as invested, as excited, just in general, about
I gotcha.
our bowl game. I'm happy that we're there for all the reasons you said. Really good points, especially the practice. I mean, you get a freshman in there getting, a couple weeks more of reps in a real game. Going to play big dividends next year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as the fan, specifically this year, with everything that's going on, I'm just kind of like, okay, it'll be fun. It'll be fun, but I'm not going to get too excited if we win or too down if we lose. I'm just going to be like, okay, it was just I'm looking at it as a scrimmage because that's the way I view it this year. I'm just, like most Gator fans, I just want next year to happen so bad.
Well, I think outside of New Year's Six and the playoffs, a lot of these bowls are starting to come that.
Yeah,
especially with a lot of guys sitting out, and I'd be shocked if Napier even coaches this game. I doubt he does.
No,
he's going to hit the recruiting trail. He won't even be there, and so it's becoming more. And since it's around early signing now, it's even less important to recruits. They want to look at the early part of your season probably and judge where they want to go. So,
yeah, I think it was after Meyer left. We had hired Muschamp, and we were at the Gator Bowl versus Ohio State. And I was actually at that game. And I think Muschamp was at the game. He had just freshly got hired. He was there, but he wasn't coaching. So I would assume it's going to be something like that. Napier would be there to view and watch, but get to know some people. But
I'm pretty sure Norvell and Taggart. Norvell did for sure. The one bowl we've been to the last 4 years, he was there. And I think Taggart went to the bowl game. And I want to play. He played Southern Miss. Anyway, so it's pretty common for them to go, is my point.
Yeah. So I would assume Greg Knox would be the coach.
Hey, 2-0 is an interim under Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So might as well.
Yeah.
And, I mean, really, for the coaches that are there, most of them aren't going to be there. So might as well just another thing to put on tape.
Run all your trick plays. Go for a fourth down. Nothing to lose.
Right,
Who cares?
Yeah. Just for your interview process. Hey, part of this bowl game too. So
Exactly.
So anyway, that's that. That's the season, at least for the regular season. So,
Indeed, 2021. Well, as Chris mentioned, I think probably a full season recap's in order, and then once the bowl matchups are announced, we'll likely have a preview of those schools too. We happen to have gotten some contacts over the years, and so if one of the programs that we don't normally follow has somebody who can weigh in more, I would be more than happy to reach out to them and see if we can get an outside perspective, because the conferences we're going to see, probably not teams we're going to know very well. So
right.
Unless it ends up being a Florida versus Florida matchup, in which case we'll have plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's see how that works. But it was still a fun season. It didn't. It doesn't feel well and leave the bad taste in your mouth. I think both of us can agree on that. But here we are, and as we can always say, there's next year.
Always next year. Yep.
Well, Chris, people have plenty of opinions on how everything went in the Florida State Florida game and the rest of the state. So how can they reach out to us and share those thoughts?
You just head on down to FloridaFocusPodcast.com. Let us know how you feel about the season, the game. You want to weigh in on the coaching changes, whatever it is. Hit us up. That's where to go. FloridaFocusPodcast.com.
Absolutely. Couple other reminders. If you'd like to support the show, patreon.com/FloridaFocusPodcast. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Ingram, from the past. We appreciate your support. And number 2, find a local charity to give to. It's the season of Thanksgiving, the season of Christmas. We have a pinned tweet. You can go donate to the Central Florida Diaper Bank. That's always a good one. Gift to your local church. Find a way to pay it forward.
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you as always, Chris. It's hard to believe you said 4 seasons here.
Yeah.
And every second of it's been fun, so thank you for yet another year completed.
Donka, same to you, my friend.
This is Brandon saying, go Noles.
This is Chris. Go Gators.